Welcome to the Tech Radar for Parents. I'm your host, Weston, brought to you by Nicholas D. West Tech, LLC. This is your briefing for the week of August 17th, 2026. Quick note before we start. Today we talk about sextortion and about the statistics on abuse imagery. I'm not going to describe how any of it works, and if you or your child are struggling, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is free, confidential, and open right now. Call or text 988 now. Fourth week in a row, I went looking for a new viral challenge. There isn't one. Fourth week in a row, I went looking for new slang. There isn't any. But on Tuesday, in a federal courthouse in Oakland, California, a lawyer stood up in front of 8 jurors and said that Meta built Instagram and Facebook to keep children on them, quote, to the point of physical and mental harm. And I want to tell you about a number. You have probably seen it. 400,000 reports of AI-generated child abuse imagery. It is the scariest number in this entire field, and this week I can tell you, with a primary source, that it does not mean what you were told it means. Let's go. Let's start with the good. Because this week, the good news is that something you were afraid of is smaller than you were told. If you follow child safety at all, you have seen this headline. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received more than 400,000 reports last year tied to artificial intelligence. It got repeated everywhere. Here is what a researcher at Stanford found when she went and looked. Her name is Rihanna Pfefferkorn. In a letter dated January of this year, she examined the reports where the generative AI box was checked. In the first half of 2025, there were about 485,000 of them. And at least 78% involve no AI-generated material at all. Not less than you'd think. None. Here's why. Roughly 380,000 of them came from one company, Amazon. Amazon was scanning the data used to train AI models, and inside that training data, they found known abuse imagery of real children. Photographs that already existed, already matched by fingerprint. And they reported every single one. Correctly. That is exactly what they should have done. So the AI connection was that the pictures were sitting inside the training data, not that AI made them. That checkbox is a flag on a form. It is not a measurement. Now, I want to be careful here, because it would be easy to hear the wrong thing. This does not mean AI-generated abuse imagery isn't real. The center's own number for offenders possessing or generating that material is more than 182,000. That is a real number, and it is a horrifying one. But 182,000 is not 400,000. And a detection system finding old crimes buried in a training set is not the same thing as a new crime wave. The good news is twofold. The panic number was an artifact. And the reason we know is that scanning worked. A company reported what it found, and a researcher checked the math in public. So when you see 400,000 in a school newsletter this fall, and you will, you now know something the person sharing it doesn't. Now the bad. And this is the biggest child safety trial in the country. On Tuesday, August 18th, opening statements began in Oakland, California, in the United States District Court for the Northern District of California. The judge is Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers. Let me give you the numbers carefully, because almost every headline gets at least one of them wrong. 29 states sued Meta back in 2023 as a coalition, but 4 states are actually trying this case: California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey. Not 29 lawyers in a courtroom, 4 states going first. And here is the part that matters most, and that I have not seen a single mainstream headline explain properly. Judge Gonzalez Rogers convened an advisory jury. 8 people. An advisory jury does not decide this case. The verdict and the penalties ultimately rest with the judge. Write that down, because in about 2 months, you are going to see a headline that says, "Jury finds against Meta," or "Jury clears Meta." Whichever way it goes, that headline is describing a recommendation, not a ruling. So what are the states arguing? Their counsel summed up Meta's business model in 4 words: hook, hold, harvest, hide. Hook the kids, hold their attention, harvest their data, hide what the company knew. The core allegation is that Meta designed Facebook and Instagram to keep children on the platforms longer and longer, quote, to the point of physical and mental harm. And I want to be clear about a word there: allegation. This is what the states argued in an opening statement. Meta disputes it. An opening statement is not evidence, and nothing has been proven. The first witness the states called is Arturo Bejar, a former Facebook engineering director who became a whistleblower. Over the weekend before trial, the judge rejected Meta's attempt to keep him off the stand. This runs 6 to 8 weeks. Mark Zuckerberg is expected to testify. So is Adam Mosseri, who runs Instagram. Which means for the next 2 months, you're going to be reading internal Meta documents in the newspaper. Read them as what they are: evidence being tested in public, one side at a time. The ugly this week is about a landmark ruling, and about how little a landmark ruling means until the appeals are done. You may have seen that Meta was ordered to pay $567 million in New Mexico. That figure is real, but it's only part of it. The total is $942 million, and it breaks into 2 pieces. Back in March, a jury imposed $375 million in civil penalties. That came from 75,000 willful violations of New Mexico's consumer protection law, at the $5,000 statutory maximum each. Then, on August 6th, the court added $567 million for abatement. That's money to clean up the harm. Judge Brian Beedscheid entered the final judgment, and the order isn't only money. For 5 years, it would require Meta to stop sending overnight push notifications to users under 18 between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Mandatory time limits for minors. Public like counts hidden by default for kids. A child safety monitor, appointed by the court and paid for by Meta. And public compliance reports, filed with the court twice a year. If you're a parent, that list probably sounds like most of what you've been asking for. Here is the ugly part. None of it is in effect. Not one item on that list. On Tuesday, the same day opening statements began in Oakland, Meta went into state court in Santa Fe and asked Judge Beedscheid to freeze enforcement of the entire judgment while it appeals, offering to post a bond of $1.8 billion instead. That motion is pending. The judge has not ruled, and as of Thursday, Meta had not actually filed its appeal yet. It has 30 days from August 6th to do it. So a company can be found liable, be ordered to change how its products work for children, and then post a bond and keep operating exactly as before while the appeal runs. That is not a scandal. That is how the system is designed to work. But it is the reason I'm asking you not to change one thing about how you supervise your kid's phone on the strength of a court order that is currently frozen. Do not wait for the 10 p.m. notification ban. Set your own. Now the decoder ring. Normally this is where I translate 5 slang words your kid is using. 4th week in a row, there is no new slang. So we're doing this instead. And honestly, I think it's more useful. Here are 5 things being reported wrong right now, including one I need to correct from the coverage this very week. 1. 764 is not slang. I keep seeing it on lists of codes parents should know. It is not a code, and it is not a word. 764 is the name of a violent online criminal network. The FBI's Boston office put out an advisory in February, more than 350 subjects under investigation nationwide, all 56 field offices involved. If you're scanning your kids' texts for the digits, you're looking for the wrong thing. 2. 67 is not the 2026 word of the year. Dictionary.com named it Word of the Year for 2025 on October 28th of last year. There is no 2026 Word of the Year yet, and that article going around about teachers dreading the 2026-2027 school year, published in December. The 26-27 is the school year, not the date. 3. 67 is not a drug code, a sex act, or a self-harm reference. I have now seen all three claims. Dictionary.com's own entry says it is, quote, impossible to define and meaningless. It appears on no DEA slang list. It came from a rap track and a hand gesture. Sometimes a nonsense word is just a nonsense word. 4. An advisory jury is not a jury. We covered this, but it's the one that's going to bite people in October. 8 people are listening in Oakland. They give an opinion, Judge Gonzalez Rogers decides. 5. And this one is mine to flag. This week, a search engine told me the Texas Attorney General sued Roblox and Discord on August 19th. Big news if true. It isn't. I pulled both press releases directly. The Roblox suit is from November of 2025. The Discord suit is from May of this year. The August dates were links in a sidebar of unrelated stories. Both lawsuits are real, they're just not from this week. That is exactly the mistake that ends up in a parent Facebook group as, "Did you hear what happened this week?" Check the dateline. Always check the dateline. All right, your action plan. Step 1. Set the overnight rule yourself tonight. A court in New Mexico decided that Meta should stop pinging kids between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. That order is frozen. You are not frozen. Whatever phone your kid has, it can silence notifications overnight. Every phone made in the last decade does this, and it takes about 90 seconds in the settings. The court thought this mattered enough to order it. Don't wait to find out whether the appeal succeeds. Step 2. Retire the 400,000 number and say why. If you've shared it, you're in good company. It was in every outlet. But now you know that at least 78% of those flagged reports involved no AI-generated material, and that most of them came from one company doing exactly the right thing. The number to use is 182,000, and it's still awful. Correcting a scary statistic in your parent group chat is not downplaying it. It's the opposite. Numbers that fall apart under scrutiny are what make people stop listening to the real ones. Step 3. Teach the dateline check. This is the single most useful media literacy skill you can hand a middle schooler in 5 minutes, and you can practice it on me. Pull up any scary story about kids and tech. Find the date. Then ask, is this from this week, or is it from last year and going around again? I disqualified 3 stories this week on that test alone, including one that was exactly 1 year old to the day. Your kid will be better at this than you within a month. Step 4. Have the sextortion conversation before you need it. The guidance from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is precise. So let me give it to you precisely. If this ever happens, your child should get help before deciding whether to pay or comply. Not never pay. Get help first. Because as the center puts it, cooperating or paying rarely stops blackmail. Say the whole sentence out loud to your kid this week. If someone ever has a picture of you and is threatening you with it, you come to me first, and you will not be in trouble. The threat only works while they think they're alone with it. So, to recap the week of August 17th. No new challenge, no new slang, 4th week running. Opening statements in Oakland, where 4 states are trying the case in front of an 8-person advisory jury and a judge who makes the final call. A $942 million judgment in New Mexico that Meta is trying to freeze with a $1.8 billion bond. And the scariest number in child safety turning out to be a checkbox. One thing I owe you before I go. I check 5 categories every week: challenges, slang, influencers, apps and regulation, and scams and safety. Last week, the influencer research failed, and I told you so. This week, it ran, and it came back empty for these 7 days. California's Child Influencer Bill, SB 1247, is real and still moving, but its last action was August 10th, and it has not passed. It is not law. If anyone tells you California just protected kid influencers, they are ahead of the facts. And 2 things I did not check this week. Whether any state law took effect in these 7 days beyond that California bill, and the kidfluencer laws in Illinois, Minnesota, Utah, and Washington. I'd rather tell you where I didn't look than let you assume I looked everywhere. If you or your child are struggling, call or text 988. Free, confidential, 24 hours. I'm your host, Weston, with Nicholas D. West Tech, LLC. Check the dateline, set the overnight rule, and I'll see you next week.